Kimura, who expanded his business with many ideas, ventured overseas. There, he was hit by the bubble burst and betrayed by the banks as Kimura was swallowed up by the turbulent waves of the times. Tuna King, a journey of Sushizanmai. In 1980, around 1 year after its establishment, Kimura Shoten started to expand its business overseas. In the overseas production of food, which has become commonplace, Kimura was an early pioneer. For example, in one of his businesses, the production flow for importing ingredients used in a bento shop, such as raising and processing the chicken for fried chicken, was independently established in Thailand. Pickles, on the other hand, were processed directly on-site in China, where cucumbers, radishes, and eggplants were grown, showcasing pioneering initiatives ahead of their time. Kimura had a deep connection with the bluefin tuna. At that time in New York, Otoro and Akami were being sold at the same price. Witnessing the difference in food cultures, Kimura quickly secured import permits for unfamiliar food materials such as sea urchins and eels. He was the one who quickly opened the import route for Pacific bluefin tunas caught in the Mediterranean Sea. Kimura brought back a large amount of purchased tuna to Japan, rented a fresh fish exhibition, and held a dismantling show. This novel event was well received, and the tuna sold like hotcakes. Kimura turned 36 in 1988, and the number of businesses he dealt with grew to nearly 80. He suddenly underwent a drastic change with the bursting of the bubble.
バブル崩壊だと思いますね。そのバブルまでは銀行さんが金を借りてくれって持ってくるわけ。うちの会社の株買ってください。この土地を買ってください。
It was when Kimura was trying to expand the pickled vegetable business in China. Kimura, who needed a large amount of funding for daikon fence work, went to a bank for consultation, but was told.
何か申し訳ございません。実は木村さんはブラックリストに載っておりまして。え？ですから今回の話はお断りさせてください。いやいやいや。
Kimura, who was never late in paying back borrowed money to any bank, should never have been on the blacklist. Upon investigation, it was found that the main bank at the time, Hokkaido Takushoku Bank, was the cause. Back then, the bank started lending 20 million yen in the form of promissory notes. But even though a borrowing contract was in place, repayment was not to be demanded for a while, as it was mainly for promissory note modifications. The contract required an annual seal and renewal, which was supposed to be somewhat formal. However, the bank had slipped in a document agreeing to repay all borrowed funds at once in the promissory note modification documents. Moreover, a bank clerk visited Kimura's home while he was traveling abroad and asked his wife to stamp the seal. It was about repaying all borrowed funds at once. But unknowingly, he answered his wife's international call by saying it was a formal rephrasing and asked her to stamp it instead.
The 宅銀の方から事前になんか説明はあったんですか？
ないです。とんでもない。いや、そんなこと約束してないよと。で、契約書こんな見たらね、書いてあった。もう一回返済こね、書いてあって小さく書いてあった。
Kimura, who returned to his home country, vehemently protested to the bank, saying,
なんで俺が不在の時にそういう大事な要件済ますんですか？明日伺いますから。
However, the repayment was not postponed. Kimura, who was forced to make a lump sum repayment along with the remaining other borrowings, had no choice but to liquidate all of his businesses. He lost everything he had built.
女房が涙を流したもんですからね。ごめんごめん、お前が責任じゃないと。俺が悪いと。
Seeing his wife's tears, Kimura realized something.
一番女房を幸せにするために、従業員を幸せにするために、お客さんも幸せにするためにやる事業、人を苦しませる事業じゃないんです。だからそんなんだったらいいと、私が全部ケツ持ってさらにすると。
However, TUNA KING did not die. Using this profound disappointment as a source of strength, Kimura returned to the original point of working again and faced the business. Today's story is up to this point. In the 6th episode, from the depths of despair to a comeback, and finally the opening of Sushizanmai, the first store, and the secret story of the unknown Tuna King, Kiyoshi Kimura continues.